welcome to ET Global Townhall. I'm Nabeel A Khan, and our keynote speaker for this session is one of the most committed business leaders who forged several globally successful businesses, Mr. Baba Kalyani, the chairman of Bharat Forge, the world's second largest forging manufacturer. My first question would be, you took up the challenge of supplying shells to the Indian Army in a crisis situation where a lot of risk was involved. How did you manage this in such a short time? I think it's an exemplary, a matter of study for supply chain management. Can you give us a brief sense? How did you do it?
It's all about technology and the ability to, put technology in different buckets, desegregated. We are a company that has immense amount of knowledge in metallurgy and metallurgical processes, right from manufacturing of highly special materials, superalloy steel, to forging them, heat treating them, processing them, and of course machining them. And if you look at shell, there's nothing but making the right kind of material, forging it in the right way, machining and processing it in the right way to achieve all the properties that you need in a item like an artillery shell. And I think we were able to use our knowledge. And I think this is what I referred to in my talk a few minutes ago, that India has abundant talent in many different fields. Actually, in the field of metallurgy, our talent is the oldest. We have had institutions like the BHU, Banaras Hindu University, where the field of metallurgy was taught, I think, almost like 70, 80 years ago at a level which was considered extremely high in the world. So we have traditionally a lot of skills available, and now we have acquired digital skills. We are able to do things much faster using digital technology, and that should help us do this. And this is exactly what we did. We didn't have digital skills those days, but we certainly used our metallurgical skills, put them in different boxes, and converted them into manufacturing shells.
You talked about China plus one strategy for supply chain, but looking at the frenzy around the world, people are trying to build a supply chain which is minus China. Do you think it is possible anytime soon?
I think if you think that we can do without China being in the supply chain for the next few years, I think that's the impossibility. Because supply chains are very, very complex structures. It is not just one part. One part has multiple supply chains by the time you get to that part. And that part going forward has a multiple manufacturers who convert it into a finished product that you really want. So it kind of goes back and forth in many parts of the world, many geographies, before it gets to a consumer. Whether that's a car, whether that's an air conditioner, whether that's a electronic gadget or a cell phone, but that's the reality of this. And therefore, it is very, very difficult to say that, okay, you're going to have a supply chain minus China anytime soon. But that doesn't mean that you have to be dependent on China. I think there's a big difference between having China in the supply chain and being dependent on China. China is a large economy. It's five times larger than India, and it continues to grow, and therefore it will remain in the supply chain. But I don't think we need to be dependent on it.
The post-COVID world has changed everything from geopolitical scenario to global trade relations. In such a scenario, which sector or geography you think will emerge as winner or a challenger to China?
I think, fundamentally, this challenge also creates opportunity. As you have seen, even pre-COVID, many countries, many developed countries have been talking a political language of nationalism. Everybody wants to bring manufacturing back into their countries. This was even before the pandemic really started. Of course, the onset of the pandemic, early part of this year, has kind of accelerated that process, and now it's created into a not just a process because of the pandemic, but it's also got converted in terms of trade wars and all the things that you keep hearing in the media about what's happening between China and the rest of the world, including India, in terms of what's happening at our borders. So I think, this process is pretty much what will determine how things happen. I think everybody is going to take a piece of the pie. No piece of the pie is going to remain with any one country or any 2 or 3 countries. Some of it is going to remain in China no matter what we do. But to us and to many countries like us, it's a huge opportunity to kind of reset ourselves. If we reset ourselves, then say we grow from here, in 10 years, we can have an extremely large manufacturing base.
You talked about every country in the world having its own share in the pie. For India, what kind of pie do you see?
The piece of the pie will be in areas where we have basic technological strength. If you have technology, if you have connectivity, you understand the digital. Digital is going to be a common thread no matter which business you're in. So if you understand this, and if you are able to connect to the global customer base, you are going to win. So if I look at India, the areas where we are currently very, very strong is pharmaceuticals, and I think we are going to get even more stronger in that area with more backward integration into API and basic chemicals and more R&D and innovation in terms of medicines. Second is automotive components. I think we are extremely competitive in that around the world. And not only competitive, we are technically getting far better than the rest of the world in this area. And we are connected with the whole world in terms of being in the supply chain. We are digitally very savvy. Most companies now work on digital platforms. This work from home has kind of encouraged creation of digital platforms. And people have found out to their amazement that if you work digitally, your productivity goes up 30-40%. So, this is an unseen benefit that most companies have derived. The other areas where India will gain tremendous prominence, as I see going forward, will be in electronics, because we are a large consumer of these products with the population that we have, whether it's cell phones, whether it's televisions, whether it's any other electronic systems, consumer product systems. I think India will become a very, very big manufacturer today. Today, all we are doing is importing materials and assembling and selling. And I think that will stop. The government policy is moving in that direction. If I come to other products, you look at footwear, you look at textiles, you look at things like that. Now, we have a lot of skilled people in India who know how to make footwear, but they don't have the technology. They don't have the same knowledge that the Italian foot maker has. They don't have ability to convert a design into a product in 24 or 48 hours, which China has mastered with digital technology. But that, it wouldn't take us more than 3 months to make that happen in India. If we just, put our minds to it and set up a process and train people. So there are many such traditional areas of where Indian artisans work. I mean, there's a lot of textiles that are made by artisans in Banaras, in Mysore, even in Pune. There's something called a Puneri sari. And in many parts of the world. I mean, you have chicken coming from Lucknow, for example. Now, why haven't people converted that into a mega business? I think the missing link is making it digital, bringing technology in, training people, and getting them access to the world, to the markets.
What message do you have for the Indian manufacturer to go on the global pedestal to serve the international market in supply chain?
You can't get a better opportunity than this. If you have knowledge of your product, if you have technology, if you have skilled people, the market is waiting for you. There are people who are waiting to buy your product. And I think there is a lot of help available from the government. We have this production-linked incentive scheme that has come out, where if you keep increasing your manufacturing in particular areas, the government is incentivizing you to do that. Therefore, I think you don't want to lose this opportunity. If you lost this opportunity in the next, let's say 2, 3, 4 years, then you'll never make it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kalyani, for taking time out and joining ET Global Townhall.
My pleasure.